Many companies like Jaguar, Mercedes, Volkswagen, and Tata Motors have pledged to go all-electric very soon in order to prevent climate change and the environmental impact of combustion vehicles. Are electric vehicles really emission-free? Watch the video until the end to find out. But before we dive in, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel, where we bring you exciting content, the environmental impact of EVs. Okay, so the fact is that there is no such thing as a zero-emission vehicle. But you might wonder, EVs do not even have a tailpipe. So what would they emit? Well, the process of making an EV is hugely damaging to the environment. The batteries that electric cars use are primarily made up of zinc, cobalt, and lithium. And not only does mining these elements cause huge damage to the environment, but they are also very rare elements. For instance, almost 50% of the world's cobalt comes from the Democratic Republic of the Congo in Africa, and 15 out of these 19 mining fields are owned by China, which means if the world goes all EVs, we would be highly dependent on China, just the way we were dependent on them for major chips and many other things during COVID. It doesn't just end here. To mine cobalt, battery makers are actually using child labor, according to the World Health Organization. And to top it all off, manufacturing just one battery results in 10 to 40 metric tons of CO2 emissions. And the bigger the battery, the higher the emissions. So until now, we have established that EVs are not clean when it comes to manufacturing, while combustion vehicles are more eco-friendly. But the problem everyone sees right now is that combustion vehicles emit CO2 as they are primarily fueled by petrol and diesel. And the mining of these fuels emits a ton of CO2 as well. So EVs become cleaner eventually. But the bigger problem is that there are not enough resources to mine batteries to replace all the combustion vehicles. Why are governments insisting on EVs? Then why are major governments insisting on all-electric vehicles? For instance, the EU is committed to banning sales of combustion engine vehicles by 2030, and the UK plans to do the same by 2035. But why would they do that? That's a good question. Well, Europe is very well known for transferring all its emissions to third world countries. So if there is dirty mining, it's not Europe's problem. That's something Africa and South America will have to deal with. And right now, Europe is not in a great place, because Europe was mainly dependent on Russia for its oil and energy. But due to the sanctions, Russia has stopped all trade with the EU. This means the EU had to go to the Middle Eastern countries for fuel, and they sold it to them at excessive costs. That's the reason why fuel costs have doubled in Europe. So now, if Europe goes all electric, they wouldn't have to rely on Russia or any other country for their oil. So what do you think? Are countries promoting EVs just to fill their pockets, or are they actually worried about the environment? Let us know in the comments below. Who will benefit the most? But for now, let's see who will benefit the most if we switch to EVs. The pundits of the world will tell you that the environment is all set to get maximum benefits because EVs give out zero emissions. But let's look at the facts. Number 1. The production of EVs is not clean. It not only harms the environment, but also involves child labor. Number 2. Just like every other device that runs on batteries, the health of the EV's battery will reduce over time. For instance, an average Tesla's battery health will start depleting to crazy levels after 70 to 80,000 kilometers. And your entire resale value of the car will depend on the car's battery health. And with the cost of replacing the batteries being excruciatingly high, it will be cheaper for you to burn your EVs than to replace its battery. That's the reason a guy in Europe decided to burn his Tesla model, yes, because its battery went whoosh. Toyota's approach to EVs. That is probably why the world's largest manufacturer, Toyota, is reluctant to EVs. With an 11.5% share of total vehicles sold in 2022, they sold over 10 million vehicles globally. For context, Volkswagen was in second place, selling just over 8 million globally, and Hyundai was in third, with a little bit over 6.5 million. Volkswagen had 330,000 EVs, Hyundai had 221,000 EVs, and the world's largest manufacturer, Toyota, not even 20,000. Toyota clearly seems to be the rebel in the playground. They are not playing the same game as all the other manufacturers. But are they playing the game right? Or are they missing out on a huge opportunity to lead the transition to an all-electric future? Toyota's ex-CEO Akio, Toyota's main principle is to keep it open and let the people decide if they want to go for combustion vehicles, hydrogen vehicles, or electric vehicles as sustainable alternatives. Lessons from the dash for diesel. While we are talking on the subject of sustainable alternatives, do you remember Britain's dash for diesel? It started more than 20 years ago when the Chancellor at the time, Gordon Brown, announced a new car tax system for vehicle owners with lower emissions of carbon dioxide, the greenhouse gas that contributes to global warming. Diesel cars at the time were assumed to be more fuel efficient with lower emissions, and Mr. Brown praised them as the greener and cheaper option. Over the next decade, the number of diesel vehicles on British roads quadrupled. But the secret that couldn't be a secret forever was that diesel cars emitted greater quantities of other pollutants, like nitrogen oxides and particulates, that damage air quality and even human health. Doesn't this sound similar to the secrets we revealed about the production of EVs earlier in this video? Impact of EVs on the environment. So, what's the moral of the story? No one knows if EVs are going to work or not. Diesel took a bet 20 years ago, and now the sales of diesel-powered engines have decreased drastically. And if you think it's worth it, then hear this. The International Energy Agency estimates that if every nation achieves their ambitious targets on increasing electric car ownership, it will reduce CO2 emissions in this decade by 235 million tons. That means, according to the UN Climate Panel's standard model, it will reduce global temperatures by about 1/10,000th of a degree Celsius, which is 0.1 Ca, by the end of the century. Yes, you heard it right. It will be 0.0001 degrees Celsius by the end of the century. Concluding thoughts. So we ask you again, is it all really worth it? Let us know in the comments below, and if you like the video, then give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to watch more such content.